I'm Jazz. I'm the director of the Young Inventors Challenge, and I actually just got involved with the toy and game industry just last year. So right around this time last year is when I got introduced to toy and games. I went out to this event last year, which was hosted in Chicago, and it completely changed my life. And I knew, right around this time this year, I wanted to get involved again. So I'm here to tell you guys that yes, you can design your own toy or game. So. Cool. So let's back it up just a little bit. The Chicago Toy and Game Fair actually started back in 2003 by Mary Cousin. It's hosted annually every year right around Thanksgiving time. So usually right before Thanksgiving, and it's on Navy Pier in Chicago. So if you guys know where the big Ferris wheel is in Chicago, it's hosted there on Navy Pier. And because it's the first and largest public toy and game fair in North America, it attracts around 30,000 people from around the world. And when I was there last year, it was incredible. I was meeting people from everywhere. There's over 150 different toy and game companies that were there to share their latest toy and game products. So that's about the Chicago Toy and Game Fair, and the Young Inventors Challenge is one part of the Chicago Toy and Game Fair. So here's a snapshot of the fair from last year. The camera definitely couldn't capture the entire fair because it was so big. So here's just one section of the fair. And the most important things here are, you see the red and the blue. So the blue section in the back, that's different toy and game companies that are showcasing their latest products. So there's people from the public that are walking around, checking out these games. I learned so much. When I went here, I only really knew about the biggest toy and game companies. And when I went there, I noticed that there's just a ton more, even smaller ones, individuals that have started their own companies or invented their own games. So that's what you see there in the blue area. In the red area, this is the Young Inventor Challenge. So this is what we're going to focus on today, are these kids who invent their own toys or games, and then they come here to the fair and they present them. So it's kind of like a science fair, if you picture a science fair, but specifically toys and games. So on the tables there, you can see, their games are laid out, and then they have their poster boards that are talking about the process or more, just more details about the game. And then professionals from the industry will come and talk to them about their game, just like a science fair. So here's a snapshot of that. And then to go into a little bit more in depth here. So the mission of the Young Inventor Challenge is to inspire the next generation to use creativity, critical thinking, and STEAM skills to invent the next best-selling toy or game, which I think is incredible. I never really thought about kids when I think about the people who invent toys or games, but why wouldn't you have kids invent the games when they're the ones that are playing the games? They probably know what the latest and greatest things are. So here's how it works. Kids ages 6 to 18 can enter. So I know there's probably people that are older than that on this call, myself included, who want to invent a toy or game as well. And a part of this whole event is there's an adult section too. So there is conferences and sessions and events for the adults. But again, we're focusing on the kids today. So if you're between the ages of 6 and 18, this is for you. So then they create their own toy or game. So one way that I would think about it is maybe look at what toys or games I already like to play with, or what things inspire me, and then start there and develop something off of that. So once you have your toy or game, it could be a board game, a card game, it could be an action figure, because it can be toys too, a stuffed animal that maybe tells a story, outdoor games count, educational games, it could be the new fidget toy. I mean, it's just endless. The possibilities are endless of things that you can create for this challenge. So once you have your toy or your game ready, then you create a pitch video. So, a pitch video could be something like, hey, I'm Jazz, I'm 12 years old, and here's my game called Jazz Hands, or whatever your game is called. And then you talk about how the game is played. So some people, talk about the rules, maybe play with a sibling or a parent or a friend in their pitch video. But most importantly, talk about how your game is going to change the industry. How is it different than anything else? How is this the coolest toy or game that's going to be, should be on shelves next year? And so after you create your pitch video, then you kind of wait to receive some feedback from the industry professionals. And what's different this year is because of COVID, of course, the whole event is going to be held virtually. So you don't have to create a poster board or, go to Chicago to present your game. Also in years when it is in person, so hopefully, fingers crossed, we're back in person next year. If you aren't able to come to Chicago, that's okay. You can still create your pitch video and submit it virtually. So I think that's awesome that if you aren't able to come to Chicago, or if you're from somewhere around the world, you can still submit your game. So again, talking about feedback from people from the industry, this is different inventors, this could be a marketing team, this could be, you know, talent acquisition, all these professionals from the industry that you get feedback from all these different companies. So here's just a list of sponsors that have, you know, been with us for the past few years. And this year, our sponsors are the big ones at the top. So Mattel, Magformers, Goliath, and Hasbro, with special support from Female Strong and then UIA. But you can see, I mean, as you look at this, a lot of these logos are really recognizable. These are some huge toy and game companies, or just other companies that want to help, you know, sponsor the event, talking about kids and innovation, which I think is incredible. Some benefits from the program. So kids get to be creative, which is awesome. Sometimes in the classroom, that isn't always the case. So this could be held in a classroom. There's curriculum around this. There are teachers that bring classrooms of kids to the event. There was a class from Mexico that came up last year, which I thought was incredible. Or after school programs, museums, or as an individual, you could submit. And then kids learn teamwork. So you can either submit a toy or a game as an individual or in a pair of two. So if you have a friend that you want to work on a game with, that's just fine as well. And then, you know, they learn things like entrepreneurship, research, design, prototyping, rule writing. Like I don't really think of rule writing as part of game design, but you have to write rules for your game. Presentation skills. So you're presenting, you can see the picture on the left there of a kid presenting his game there to other kids and some judges. And then also with the videos, you know, creating video content and editing. And in today's world with social media, so many kids are already creating videos. So why not use those skills with, you know, presenting your game? And then number one, just having fun. I mean, the kids that were there last year that I got to meet and talk to, they were just having a blast. And it just brought so much inspiration to me, even as an adult. I'm like, I want to invent a toy or game now. Like, this is so cool. They just took so much pride in their work. And then of course, kids can win prizes. So in the picture on the right, you can see those bundles kind of sitting in the back. Those are bundles of different toys and games, the latest ones that are out in the market from our sponsors that kids can win. And then on top of that, kids can actually have their games manufactured and sold in stores, which again, I think is incredible. Like when I go to Target and buy games, I never would have thought like a kid actually invented this game, but it's true. And here's some examples of some success stories. So Nick Metzler at the top there, back in 2012, he invented this game called Squash. And it was licensed by PlaySmart. So it was actually sold around the world. I think it's still for sale as well. And then later on, he was hired by Spin Master, and he actually won the Toy and Game Inventor Rising Star Award in 2018, which I think is cool. So his game that you see up there at the top, Squash, the players move around that cube there, and then if you get up to the top, then you can rotate the cube and squash the players that would then be on the bottom, and they get smushed inside of the cube. So it actually looks super fun to play. Our second one here, we have Lily and Tate, and they created Bet You Can't, which is about, you know, one-upping your opponent. So there's a category, and then you have to name things that are in that category in a certain amount of time. They won the challenge in 2018, and then they got picked up by Pressman Toys, which their game now is sold exclusively at Target. And then Tiggy down there at the bottom created a game called Draw Into Crime, which is a mashup between Clue, Pictionary, and Guess Who. And when I looked up the game, I was like, that is the best way to put it. So people get to draw out who they think committed this crime. She won Most Creative Game in 2017, and her game was then licensed by Play Monster. So one thing that I want to add to this slide here is these games that you see, you know, the pictures of the games that I have, these were after they were licensed. So when the kids come to the Young Inventor Challenge, you don't have to come with a fully designed game like this. You're more selling a concept. So there's a ton of kids that come there with pieces of paper that are cut up and they colored on with marker with their different cards, or, you know, their board is just a poster board, again, with markers and maybe certain things printed out. So your game doesn't have to be fully designed like this. This is after it was licensed by the company. So, you know, paper and marker is totally fine. Develop it as much as you are able to with the resources that you have. And then how to enter. So if you're interested, you can go to shytag.com/YIC. So that's Young Inventor Challenge, and check out the design guide. So there's a design guide that's in there that talks about brainstorming, talks about the process. maybe give you some ideas on how you can create your game, and maybe what the industry is looking for. And then registration is open right now, actually. So with the deadline coming up on October 31st, hopefully you can get a jump start on this right away. Or maybe you already have a toy or game that you've thought of. This might be the time now to submit it. I know for me, when I have a deadline, I work so much better. If I don't have a deadline, I'll just have ideas that go on years and years and years. So why not start right now?
And I just want to give you a heads up. We've got about 3 minutes left. So get in everything that you want to get in. This is perfect.
Okay. Yep. So there's a $25 registration fee, and right now we're running $10 off until the 15th. So you have a few days to get that in there, and then submit all your materials. So that includes your pitch video by November 7th. And then the virtual awards will be hosted on November 21st. So there's more information on the website as well if you're interested. And then that's what I have. So I'll see you guys at the Young Inventor Challenge virtual award show on the 21st. Here's a picture of my brother and I from the Chicago Toy and Fair last year. Again, I was super fortunate to be able to go, but looking forward to being back in person next year, hopefully. But this year being virtual work. So I have my contact information down at the bottom as well, jazz@shytag.com for any further questions. But yeah, that's what I got. Any questions?
So there are a couple questions.
Sure.
And my mind's blown. I'm so excited. I can't wait to be there in person, and we'll definitely be there virtually this year. And as a Canadian, I appreciate the easy access, especially.
Right.
So thank you for being virtual this year. Someone's asking specifically about how you define a toy and whether an app, for example, could be entered as a toy.
Ooh, that is a great question. Maybe submit me an email and let's talk about that offline. Because now, like with social media and app development, yeah, that might be in there. I'm not exactly sure. I actually just became the director, so I'm still learning some of the ropes right now, but send me an email and I'll follow up on that one.
Rock on.
Great question.
And to tag on to that, please do look into that. I have a little history. About 20 years ago, I wrote a toy and game competition that was in New York City. And it was at the Javits. Yours is way cooler because it has the kid element, which is just brilliant. We were all kids once. We're all still kids if we admit it. But that is very definitely a big spot that is open and needed. And it also, I noticed one last thing. I noticed Scholastic on your supporters. And a lot of things, when people think of apps, they just think about the technology, but there's an awful lot of writing, which is one of the standards that is needed in school. So working with Scholastic, they could help you also define how actually making toys and a lot of the process meets school standards.
Yep. Yeah, and that's something that we're working on developing as well, more curriculum with the standards so that teachers are able to implement this in the classroom more.
It plugs right into about 7 of them right out of the gate. So you look like you're having fun.
Hey, I'm having a blast. I'm so happy to be a part of the team, and I can't wait to see some of the kids' pitch videos this year. They're adorable. You can check them out on YouTube, Chicago Toy and Game channel. There's a playlist for their pitch videos, and then there's some on the website as well, and they're just adorable.
Well, you were a tremendous pitch person, Jazz. I got to tell you, because jazz hands is appropriate because you've done a brilliant, tight, filled with detail, brilliant pictures, and it's infectious.
Thank you.
Congratulations. I know it's only been a year that you've been doing it, but I think you found your spot. I think you can make a big impact with what you're doing. And thank you ever so much. And please keep us in the loop